Smash! I was actually going to smash my computer, but I thought, you know, maybe that's not such a great idea. So let us begin. As you can tell, this is going to be my review for The Incredible Hulk. I'm going to be talking about this movie starring Edward Norton and Liv Tyler, and it was actually the second movie produced by Marvel Studios, who had just got off doing Iron Man at the time. So with all that getting out of the way, let's get down to the movie itself. What about The Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner? What did I think of Edward Norton? I thought he was actually really good. I actually really enjoyed him. First of all, this is not really a sequel to the Eric Bana Hulk. So, even though this is the second Hulk feature film, this does not follow that Hulk movie. But what's really cool about it is how it's kind of a loose sequel. It's not, they consider it a reboot. But if you really look at it, it can sort of follow what happened before. Until you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and see that Thunderbolt Ross, not Thunderbolt Ross, what's his name? Talbot is in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he was a character in the original Hulk film, played by, I believe, Josh Lucas. So, and in that first Hulk movie, that character died. So, obviously now it's not in continuity, but this Incredible Hulk movie is connected to the Avengers world, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's canon. Kevin Feige has confirmed that it's canon, and so it's canon. And canon means that it's in connection with everything else that's been going on. So, the Mark Ruffalo version of the Hulk is the same Hulk you see Edward Norton playing. And I'm going to admit, I think Edward Norton is my favorite Hulk. I know a lot of people have really grown to Ruffalo, and I like Ruffalo too, don't get me wrong. I just think if you're going to ask me who's my favorite Hulk, I'm going to say Edward Norton. I think, to me, physically, he looks like what Bruce Banner should look, in my opinion. I feel Mark Ruffalo is a little bit bulky. He's not fat, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's a little bit more muscular, you know? Compared to Edward Norton, anyways. I really enjoyed Eric Bana, too, so I was kind of sad that he didn't come back for the Avengers when they could have. But again, that film is not connected to this one, so that's why. But for the most part, I really like Norton, and I think he delivered. He always delivers on every movie he does, so it's never wrong to have great talent. I also really liked William Hurt as General Ross. I thought he was really good. He brings this real threat to Banner that, like, he's clearly trying to get him, not for his daughter, even though he wants him to stay away from her too, but clearly he's after this guy, and nothing's gonna stop him to get him back. So I think he really pulls the weight really well. Tim Roth as Abomination. This guy, you know, I see him mostly as bad guys in a lot of movies, but yeah, man, he's great in this movie also, and I really like the Abomination. I think he feels like a real big threat. And the cool thing about his character is that you actually get to see his character. It's cool how they play with him, because you actually see him fight the Hulk 3 times throughout the film. The first time you see him fighting, taking down or trying to take down the Hulk as a mere mortal. The second time, they infuse a serum into him, which I'll get to right after this. And the third time, he becomes this monstrous beast known as the Abomination. And it's a really cool transformation, and I think definitely one of the strong points in the film is the action sequences in this movie. If this movie got something right that the Iron Man movies didn't at the time, was the action sequences. I think giving Hulk this big, huge action pieces really helped make this one more fun than the last one. I really like the Bourne Identity fugitive type feel in the movie. I thought that really helped make it a lot more fun than the last film as well. Also, this movie is a lot more fast-paced. Ang Lee's Hulk was more slower, in my opinion, and from what I understand, he was trying to make it artsy. This film does not feel artsy. It feels like a really cool action film, and it's pretty well paced. I'm gonna say I really enjoy it all the way through. It's one of my favorite Marvel films, and if you watch it, you'll probably agree on the Bourne Identity. Like, the action can sometimes feel a little bit rough. Same thing with the cinematography. It feels not dirty, but it feels rough, and it allows it to separate itself from the more colorful Iron Man, I think. So that was really cool. Also, if you're a huge fan of looking for Easter eggs, this movie has a lot of Easter eggs to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I don't think a lot of people at the time realized. Obviously, there was the Stark logo on some of the government weapons that were handled by the army. If you look very carefully in the very beginning, you'll see Stark's logo there, as well as S.H.I.E.L.D. is referenced briefly in one scene, and during the credits in the beginning, when they're showing the Hulk's altered origin, there's actually, very briefly, there's a paper signed by Nick Fury. So that was pretty cool. And another thing, the serum that Blonsky takes to enhance his strength to fight Hulk the second time, that's actually the super soldier serum, because General Ross talks about it with Blonsky earlier, explaining it to him, and he says that the serum was developed during World War II, and Blonsky briefly says, "Oh, super soldier." So, that's foreshadowing Captain America, who uses the super soldier serum to become himself. So it's actually cool that the serum is used in this movie too, because it connects back, and people who are curious about the connections between all the films, those are some of them right here. There's probably more. There's a big one at the very end of the movie, which is very obvious. You don't even have to look hard for it, but I'm not gonna spoil it, just in case anybody has never seen this Hulk movie. Go check it out, because it's worth checking out. I'm also going to talk about Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. I thought she was incredible in this movie. I thought she was really fun, and much more caring than the Jennifer Connelly version of the Betty Ross character. I felt Jennifer Connelly's take on it wasn't really as supportive to Bruce as Liv Tyler's character was. That's why I liked it more about Liv Tyler's, but that's also in the writing and the directing as well, I guess. So I can't really blame Jennifer Connelly for how she played that role, but I do like the character more in this movie, as a character, because I felt like if she was really a longtime friend of his, she would support him and try to help him. I'm glad they played more with that in this movie. So yeah. Something I also want to note is that there are not just one bit 2 jokes about Hulk's purple pants in this movie. That's not a big deal, but I just found it kind of odd that they would make 2 jokes to the purple pants. That's all I gotta say on that. One of the last actors we are introduced to towards the end of the movie is Tim Blake Nelson, who plays Samuel Stearns, who is the guy that Bruce Banner is talking to at the beginning of the movie, codenamed Mr. Blue on the computer. That's the guy who he's been typing to in the beginning. And we learned that this guy's been experimenting with Bruce Banner's blood, and he's been keeping it, and obviously Bruce Banner wants to destroy it. And if you remember, or if you haven't seen the movie, there's a part towards the end where, after they raid in his laboratory and arrest Bruce Banner and Betty, it's when Emil Blonsky is transforming into Abomination. You see a little bit of blood after he knocks down Samuel Stearns. You see a little bit of blood dropping on his head, and his head begins to transform into something. We don't know what. We're just left with seeing that, and that was supposed to set up him becoming the leader. And obviously, we haven't gotten a Hulk sequel to see the leader yet. And I'm thinking to myself, well, guys, with all these Avengers movies, can't you at least like squeeze the leader in there at some point and, you know, a little cameo, kind of like give us some closure on that storyline? I feel like ever since The Incredible Hulk ended and Marvel's been continuing, because I'm sure by now a lot of people have seen The Incredible Hulk, especially now with the Avengers out. I'm pretty sure people went to rent it or downloaded it. And I just feel like Marvel's trying to forget The Incredible Hulk ever happened. But at the same time, if they need a backstory, they look back to it and said, oh yeah, that happened, so we should reference it in our movies for the Hulk in the Avengers. And but I feel like they're forgetting certain story elements were left unsaid at that point. I would like to see some of those characters and threads revealed. Actually, I even tweeted something today on Twitter that I would like to see some of these actors return. Even though Edward Norton's not going to return and Mark Ruffalo's the new Hulk, I want to see, you know, William Hurt return as General Ross and Liv Tyler return as Betty Ross, and, you know, even Tim Blake Nelson and Tim Roth. I think it would be great to see any of these characters back. I think we have more of a bigger chance of seeing Abomination return. I just hope we get to see the leader too one day, because especially since he's set up, so that means like he's out there in the Marvel Cinematic Universe doing something, planning his next move all this time. So come on, guys, Marvel, what are you waiting for, man? Give us Tim Blake Nelson returning as the leader. Or if you have to recast, go ahead. But, you know, I feel like you guys are forgetting that the Incredible Hulk is part of this universe. And it would be nice to see, you know, some of those characters return, since, you know, it's not their fault Edward Norton was a stubborn jackass. If Edward Norton's watching this, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean that. So, in conclusion, how am I going to wrap this up? I really enjoy this movie. This, to me, is an underrated film. I think a lot of people don't give this one a lot more credit than it deserves. I think out of all the Marvel films, this is the most underlooked. Sure, is it the best one? No, no way. But it is definitely not the worst. I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it that much. I had so much fun with it. There are minor annoyances, but nothing really big to really bring down the movie. They're more like nitpicking, and I don't mind that. I don't mind if it's just a little nitpick here and there, because for me the movie was really entertaining and I had a lot of fun with it. And I'm sad that out of all, you know, Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, I'm sad that the Hulk was the only one that didn't get a sequel, because I think it would have done a lot more better. I think, especially now with the Avengers making the Hulk even more popular than he already was, yeah, man, I think it's time the Hulk gets his own movie again. So, with that being said, guys, go out there and don't smash things.